Oklahoma State and Oregon fans are different people. We speak different languages, yeah? We have different faces. But inside, even though they just left for the Big Ten, are they still the same? Same, but different, but still same.
You are Locked On College Crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Howdy, y'all, and hello, all. Welcome into this crossover edition, Locked On Oklahoma State, Locked On Utes. Thank you so much for making this your first listen. You could be anywhere, so happy you choose to be here. The Cowboys get set to take on the Oregon Ducks, and although the Ducks are new to the Big Ten, and the Utes are, in fact, new to the Big 12 and also stirring the pot occasionally, there's a correlation here between how Oregon was in the Pac-12 and how Oregon is now. The animosity brewing between the Ducks and the Cowboys, it doesn't make a ton of sense to me, but maybe JT can help us break it down. First of all, brother man, how are we feeling today, my guy?
Doing so good, Cody, and I am not surprised.
Fan base.
I'm not surprised at all that you managed to get under the skin of someone else's fan base, as you didn't like what I was saying so much. You took me out of the studio, so I couldn't finish the point.
I got to be good at something, I guess. Yeah, man, it's a wild time. It's been a wild ride. We definitely got a ton to cover here, dude. Is this something that I don't know, you guys just came to expect to some degree from Oregon fans, or are they acting a little bit differently now than you saw them or you witnessed or experienced when they were in the Pac-12 with the Utes?
I maybe a tad different, I'll say, based on some of the things we've been talking about throughout the week. But I will say, Cody, this does sound very similar to the Oregon fans that I remember, because I just look back and, you know what, honestly, I don't even know if it's just Oregon. I just think when you are dealing with the top brands in college sports, I think their fan bases are generally very soft. I think you could say that about a lot of USC fans. I cannot stand the way Ohio State fans have been acting. It's like, you want a national championship, and I know it's a good rivalry, but like, my gosh, focus on the national championship. That whole Alabama thing, they're treating a 9-3 season like it was the worst thing ever. It's crazy to me, like the way some of these top fan bases are. And Oregon was definitely like that, because I think when you have success in anything, this goes for life, right? Like, people get entitled. And I think we've seen that happen with Oregon fans. And I think they had that success last year, number one team and all that. So, you know, you're coming in even just talking about like, hey, here's how Oklahoma State can win. Here's how Oklahoma State can do that. And they're not having any of it. So that's where I always laugh at that, because I do think that is just Oregon fans being very soft, because the last thing you want to do is overlook a team like Oklahoma State. Let's not forget, just last year, they overlooked Idaho, and that nearly cost them. They won that game, but that was way closer than it had any right to be. Last I checked, the Cowboys a lot better than the Idaho Vandals. And if I was Oregon fans, I'd stop talking so much and be focused on what's going to actually happen up in Autzen on Saturday.
I like it. And whether you're cheering on the Ducks or the Cowboys or the Utes, please don't forget that it is college football season, which means it's capitalization season. We're brought to you today partially by FanDuel. With the season right here, make sure that you go visit the FanDuel app today and start planning for your future bets now. All right, buddy, let's kind of kick off in this a little bit deeper here. You mentioned the Idaho game, and Boise State was also a problematic opponent. Oklahoma State, Boise State, they don't spend the same in NIL. Neither does Oklahoma State and Oregon. You've seen the feathers that have been ruffled in Oregon country over Mike Gundy making common sense remarks. And he even kind of doubled down again today, not in a negative light. But he had another interview today where he talked about how he didn't expect it to go that way because he was being complimentary and legitimately saying they have a good coach, good facility, good program, and they have some of the best that money can buy. He wishes that Oklahoma State had that ability. He did, give some kudos to the AD, to the president, to the Board of Regents, and everybody kind of involved in trying to get more NIL for Oklahoma State. But, yeah, I think that he kind of said that. Nowhere near as a jab. It was a compliment to Oregon. He was slightly envious, and also, I got to give a shout out to Coach Dunham here. There's a little bit of probably gamesmanship Gundy is doing here to the Oklahoma State fan base and the donors, because if we do get the doors absolutely blown off of us, you will be able to tie back to this, and Gundy can say, yeah, well, I told you so. Not that that's going to do him any favors by the end of the season, but what do you think about him coming out today and saying, I don't know why this got turned into this thing. I was being complimentary. I was being legitimate. I wish we had that kind of money, and there's going to be a difference potentially on the football field. What do you think about, Oregon making a mountain out of a molehill and turning this thing into something that it was never intended to be?
Yeah, I think it's in the NIL era. Everyone gets very offended easily. I'll just say, honestly, I think people get offended easily when you bring up their NIL funds and all things like that. I've dealt with this before, like rubbing BYU feathers the wrong way. And then they've gotten frustrated at that. It's just like, hey, it's a reality. Like, you have strong NIL funds. Like that's what we're talking about. But anytime it gets brought up and whatever, it's kind of ruffle feathers. The way Gundy said it, as you mentioned too, kind of was, even though he was complimenting them in a way, is still kind of doing a Gundyism basically and poking them as well too. Cody, I actually love the point you made when it's like, if you guys did get blown out in this game, I don't think you're going to lose by 20. I don't know if this is going to be a 10-point game. I'll say that. I would love it. The Big 12. Yeah. I'm actually rooting for you guys. And I like Dan Lanning. I think he's a good coach, but let's also not forget that this Oregon team is retooling and a lot from last season. They lost so much overall. And I know I'm the Utah guy, so I remember playing Dante Moore. And Dante Moore, last time he faced off against Utah, was 2 years ago, threw a pick six on the first play of the game. And his offense mustered a full 7 points that game. So has he had time to grow, improve, all of that? Sure. But there's a lot of unknowns still about Oregon. We're just feeling like some of those pieces can grow, the recruits, all of that. But what you mentioned, Cody, if you were to get blown out in this game, that's where, weirdly enough, for Oklahoma State, a blowout may not be the absolute worst thing in the world if long-term it improves your program, because you can take this game as evidence to your donors and say, this is what we're talking about. When I say we need more money to compete at the top level in college sports, that's what it looks like. I'm not saying we need to get to beat Oregon, because that's just a tall order, but we need more to at least stand a chance. And that's where it's crazy. But exactly what you mentioned, if you guys were to get blown out in this game, maybe it would long-term improve NIL. And I don't think you guys are in a bad NIL place, but neither one of us is in an Oregon NIL place. We know that much.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we're doing significantly better, right? We went from spending $2 million to $5 million to maybe in the 13, 15-ish range now. But still, that's 3 years of Cowboy NIL doesn't equal last year's $23 million that Oregon spent, right? So it takes 3.5 years for Oklahoma State to spend what Oregon spends in 1 year. So even if the monetary value that Gundy associated with Oregon spending, maybe it's not $40 million. Okay, cool. But the point still remains that even if it's $30 million, that is double what Oklahoma State can come up with at the moment. So even on the lighter side of this conversational piece, it still is what it is. But thankfully, you mentioned Idaho. We talked a little bit about Boise State. You still have to line up and you still have to play the game. And if Oklahoma State can create enough chaos, a.k.a. turnovers, getting to Dante Moore, get him off his platform, make him uncomfortable, he does have a propensity to give away the ball to the other team. We just so happen to be that other team. And if that happens in this game, then yes, we do have a fighting chance because of guys like Wendell Gregory on defense and Brian McCoy and Cam Smith. And offensively, dude, Zane Flores is the highest rated recruit we had at quarterback since Spencer Sanders. Obviously, getting Haas Haney in the transfer portal does change that a little bit. But as far as out of high school recruiting goes, Zane Flores is still Mr. Nebraska, Gatorade Player of the Year, all times passing yards leader in Nebraska history. He's still that guy. It's not like he's a slouch. He was top 15 in the final Elite 11. This is more than anything going to be an opportunity for him to prove why they reinvested in him, as opposed to keeping Garrett Rangel or Milwaukee Smith. Two dudes that are comfortable in the system. They understand Cowboy culture. You know they're going to do the right thing all the time, but they went with the upside. The upside guy was Zane Flores. The safe pick may have been Rangel. The upside pick was going to be the combination of Flores and Haney. So even though Haas is out for the foreseeable future, at least 6-ish weeks, this is going to open an opportunity for Zane. And you and I both know, with the slate of Big 12 games this weekend, Oklahoma State's not expected to win this. And we're going to talk about them in segment 3 and give some of our picks, but the Cowboys are expected to get drugged through the mud. They're expected to get treated like a redheaded stepchild. But I think that we can get to Dante, and if we can create some chaos, and if we can create some turnovers, and we can turn it into a fist fight in a phone booth, it could become an interesting fourth quarter. Before we get over to segment 2 here, Who do the Utes have coming up before we talk about that in segment 3?
Utah plays Cal Poly. They're a Big Sky FCS team. They were voted 11th in the Big Sky. They won their week 1 game, so give Cal Poly credit for that. To me, like, Devin Dampier shouldn't be playing in the second half. Like, Utah should. Last year, Cam Rising was out by halftime when they played Southern Utah. One of the few games Cam Rising was actually healthy in. To me, it's not going to be much of a game. I expect a big win from Utah. Rest of starters, get the red shirts in. You know what, Cody? Get some Isaac Wilson in, a name Oklahoma State fans will be familiar with.
How dare you? Speaking of Isaac Wilson, and even more so, Devin Dampier, I don't like eating crow, but it's kind of part of this industry, and this is a quarterback-driven league that is the best group of quarterbacks in the United States of America, and it's not even close. So we're going to segue into that real quickly, but before we do that, we do have to remind the fine folks out here, there's some cool stuff that you need to be a part of. With the game day right around the corner, make sure that you have food coming to you. It's almost that time. And it's also time to look back and crown an MVP. Who delivered the most for the Cowboys or the Utes this previous weekend? I think you can easily say Devin Dampier for the Utes. And we've got to give it to Wendell Gregory on the defensive side of the ball for the Cowboys. These players delivered when it mattered most. So let's break it all down. For Locked On Utes and Locked On Oklahoma State, Wendell Gregory, Devin Dampier, whomever you choose, they both delivered in a very big way. This is the time for you to feel the pressure and come through in the biggest moments, just like these fellas just did, without hesitation, without delay, make the magic happen. And if you've been watching week after week, the performance, it's not going to be a fluke, just like they were not in week 1. Wendell Gregory, Devin Dampier, their streak has already started. And just like Wendell Gregory and Devin Dampier delivered for the Utes and the Cowboys, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays for you. With DoorDash Streaks, you can save every Saturday on your order. Stack it up all season, and you could save up to 250 bones, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through 11/18. Make sure that you get the best delivered to your doorstep, and that is, of course, DoorDash. And you might as well get stocked up on your next mobile awesome sauce mobile, which is going to be with Mazda. Mazda crafts cars for those who choose to do more than simply move. They follow what moves every time they drive. That's what makes Mazda stand out. They go beyond safety, style, and performance to tailor-make the driving experience just for you so you can feel more alive. Mazda offers more than safety. It's won more 2025 IAHS Top Safety Pick awards than anyone else. As an athlete focused on every single detail, Mazda does the same. From metallic accents to hand-stitched Napa leather, you can feel it in the moment when you get behind the wheel. The smooth handling, intuitive controls, and the standard all-wheel drive in almost every crossover SUV. Whether it's a quick drive to practice or a weekend road trip, Mazda makes everyday driving feel more special. It's the small details that make the biggest differences and the biggest plays. And just like that, there's more to every player. There's also more to every single Mazda vehicle. Get with Mazda today so you can move and also be moved by Mazda. All right, fine. Devin Dampier might start over Zane Flores. I mean, the jury's still out on if he'd start over Haas Haney. All right, but I do have to admit, Devin Dampier, at least game 1, avoided the dreaded DeQuan Finn labelization that he unfortunately got at Baylor this previous season, and that was my comp. So I have to retract that after seeing what Devin Dampier did. It was very impressive. Thankfully, there's tons of quarterbacks in this league that are very impressive, but I don't know if you saw this earlier today. On 3, put up the Heisman watch for week 2. All right? Let me know. Have you seen this one yet?
I have not.
Let me know when you hear a surprise or what is missing from this list. Number 1, Garrett Nussmeier. Number 2, Lenora Sellers. Number 3, Thomas Castellanos of Florida State.
He's good.
Number 4, John Mateer. Tied for 4th, Devin Dampier. Number 6, Carson Beck. Number 7, Caleb Downs. Number 8, Sam Levitt. Number 9, Ruben Bain. Number 10, Haynes King. What'd you think about that list? And did you notice anybody missing?
Not really. I mean, maybe a Josh Hoover, Cody? Is there someone else that Or who are you going to go with?
Or the dude that's 2-0 and number 1 in the Big 12.
Oh, Rocco Becht. Yeah, that's
mother
true.
trucking Becht, man.
That's true. That's true.
I do think that Josh Hoover picked up precisely where he left off last year. He looked amazing. But just like whenever I did my Big 12 Power Rankings show yesterday, to me, it only makes sense. I know Utah played phenomenal. I know TCU took care of business. But Iowa State is 2-0 with a win in the Big 12 Conference that is currently sitting atop the league. I do feel like that I don't agree with the 2 Big 12 teams playing to open the season in any country, but they do have that feather in their cap. And K-State still widely viewed as a talented enough team to still win this conference. Are their backs up against the wall a little bit? Could they potentially be putting themselves in a precarious position for this upcoming game that they're about to play? Yeah, because not an easy opponent predicated upon the amount of time you have to get ready. But no, Rocco Becht surprised me here. It really did. This is the best quarterback league in the country. Is some of this list posturing? And do you think it's an inevitability that guys like Hoover and Rocco do eventually get the love that they deserve?
I think it is. I think Rocco is a guy, and first of all, Rocco's been outstanding this year. I'm not shocked, I guess I should say, that he wasn't on there. There's a reason his name didn't pop to my head first. I think just Hoover, and part of that is out of sight, out of mind sometimes, right? And what have you done for me lately? I should say, I just watched Hoover go crazy against TCU, and I'm like, that might be one of the 10 best quarterbacks in college football right there. So that's where, for me, he was the first name that I thought of when we were just rolling through a couple of those as well. But there's other guys you mentioned on that list that we'll see how they do, how they fall, how they rise. Like a Tommy Castellanos. I think he deserved to be on there. He was fantastic against Alabama. But is he going to keep that up? He was not great at Boston College last year. So did he just have his moment week 1? It all came together. Can you stack him time and time again? That's the question. But Rocco Becht is definitely a guy who I've been incredibly impressed by his play. I thought they don't win the game in Ireland without him putting the team on his back in certain scenarios when the offensive line was getting cooked in the first half. Yeah, they ran the ball well in the fourth quarter, but they were getting bullied early on. Beck with hanging in the pocket, making some tough throws, dealing with the bad weather, dealing with some bad snaps, even things like that. And he was just balling. I'm a big Rocco Becht fan. As a Utah guy, I'm glad Utah misses Iowa State this year because I think it's a really good Cyclones team. I absolutely think they're going to take care of business against an Iowa team that is trying to tell the whole world they have an offense, and I'm not biting on that until I see it. I'm not biting on that till I see it. I've seen how good Iowa State is, and I think Iowa State's spectacular. I think right now, like, to me, do I think Utah is the best team in the Big 12? I do, but they've only played one game, and I'm also the Utah guy. I have zero issue with Iowa State being there. In a lot of ways, Iowa State has earned being there more because they have a much more impressive win to me than Utah does. So incredibly impressed with Iowa State. Matt Campbell does an amazing job. That defense looks legit. And unlike Kansas State, they took care of business against their FCS opponent. And I'm not just saying, I know Kansas State won, but they took care of business with, it was that thing where you come home from work and your suit's all beat up and ripped up and you're like, I got through the day. That was Kansas State, basically. Yeah. So I definitely think the Big 12 is a case for more guys on here for the Heisman odds. But hey, I'm just still fired up. You said Devin Dampier at 4. That just makes me smile ear to ear, Cody.
Well, and honestly, Devin Dampier and John Mateer, they're very comparable dudes. They had comparable performances. They have a lot of the same attributes that they bring to the table. The one thing I will say in watching Devin Dampier that I was like, okay, was his elusiveness. Like, dude, he, I mean, I don't want to praise the Utah dude too much at the moment, but yeah, I was watching that game, and I even mentioned to my friends watching, I was like, man, I'm going to have to eat some crow to JT and his people because Devin Dampier, like, his ability to make people miss in such a confined space, that is you can't teach that. You cannot teach that. You can teach somebody to be a better quarterback, have more zip, have better reads, figure out the defense, isolate and identify the mic and everything like that. But that ability to have some internal Tyreek Hill, you can't teach that. It just comes. And yes, we saw him do it in New Mexico, which is why I gave him a hard time because DeQuan Finn, put up comparable stats at Toledo before going to Baylor. And my apologies to DeQuan Finn, Devin Dampier, not in the same hemisphere. Obviously, with Haas Haney, Oklahoma State's quarterback going down, it's going to be a difficult task for Zane Flores making his first career start of it all time in Eugene, Oregon, right? But I tell you, somebody that we did leave off this list, Sawyer Robertson.
Yeah,
and I've been giving Baylor fans a hard time.
That's the only thing that's hard, Cody, is they lost. Like, I love Sawyer too, but when you lose, it's hard to be in there right now, right?
I've been telling Baylor fans, because they've been pumping number 1 passing yards in the country. So I was like, guys, stop the cap, chill out. Yes, he did put up 420 some odd yards, but you guys lost. And, he didn't manage the situations all the time like he could have. 48 attempts, it's a pretty healthy number. So I'm not saying that it's smoke and mirrors what Sawyer Robertson did statistically, but we all watched the game, right? Sawyer Robertson is typically better, or at least last year he played better at crucial times than he did in this previous ball game. They have an opportunity to make up for it, so all eyes will be kind of looking at him as well. And then you continuously go down this league. Another dude we haven't talked about yet is Jalen Daniels. Jalen Daniels looks like the Andel Kotelnicki 2023 version of Jalen Daniels. Don't know what happened last year. Maybe it was just the differentiation in offensive coordinators, but this version of Jalen Daniels looks like that dude that was a Heisman dark horse guy a couple seasons ago. Would you agree with that thus far?
I do. I've really loved what I've seen from him. The only thing I would pump the brakes on is being like he's back is I want to just wait till next week. I mean, again, Missouri. I mean, you talk about a leap up in competition from what he's seen so far. And I don't know how good Missouri is. I'll also add that. They, last year they had those expectations. They fell short. I still think Missouri is one of the 40 best teams in college football, probably maybe 50, who knows, but that'll be a test for them, especially on the road. But I want to see what Jalen Daniels is going to look like in that game before I elevate him all the way to there. And yet, like you said, with Sawyer, Sawyer was really good last week. If you want to tell me he's a top 10 quarterback in the country, I'd say okay, I can see that. I don't know if I would have him there at this moment based on how he looked, but I really like Sawyer. But you cannot tell me after a loss, unless you do something Herculean, that you need to be in the top 10 Heisman odds this early. Yeah. And it's just like I said, with his numbers were fine, but they were not like, oh my gosh, Heisman. Devin Dampiers was like barely any incompletions, 3 total touchdowns. Utah was 16 of 18 on third down. It was crazy. And Cody, he deserved a lot of the crap he got for the 12 interceptions last year, but just going back for Devin Dampier, going back and watching his play, some of those were mistakes by him. He was trying to force the ball. Other times it was just drops and bad bouncing off receivers' hands. Some things where I'm like, okay, when I watch New Mexico's offense, Devin Dampier is really good. I feel very confident in his ability to clean up the turnovers. Doesn't mean he's never going to throw an interception this year, but clean up the turnovers. You mentioned the elusiveness. There is a reason he led college football last year in yards per carry at 7.5 yards. He had 1,000 yards rushing last year, over that, and he did some incredible things. Last thing I'll mention about Dampier before I throw it back to you, I've been saying all offseason, he's the only player in the country to throw for 2,500 passing yards, rush for 1,000 yards. Other QBs that have done that since 2016, Lamar Jackson, Kyler, Jalen Hurts, Jalen Daniels. Did those quarterbacks do it against P4 competition? Yeah, but Devin Dampier is the only other guy on that list. That's why I felt like he was ready. Pair that with the fact that he looked good against P4 competition last year, and I was really impressed with him. And Cody, it is just music for my ears hearing you eat and crow this early in the season. Gosh, you're the best. Yeah. Thank you, sir.
It's part of the gig. It's part of the gig. And another name that we didn't even talk about was Baron Morton. I think a healthy Baron Morton is in some of these same conversations. The question is, can Baron Morton stay healthy? Because he hasn't been able to do it yet. And he's already banged up again, right? First game into the season. So if Baron Morton can stay healthy, I think he's at the very upper echelon of the same exact conversation. But a lot of these guys are going to have opportunities to prove it this Saturday. So let's talk about some of these Big 12 matchups, buddy. But first, we have to remind all you fine folks out here, do not waste money. Don't just throw it away. You're going to have to fill up your gas tank at some point in time, anywho, so you might as well get some monetary assistance with it. Oklahoma State fans, Utah fans, if you're paying for gas and you're not getting anything in return, you're screwing the pooch here. Get real cash back every time you fill up with the free Upside app. Simply download the free Upside app in the App Store or the Google Play Store right now and start earning cash back at the pump today. Use our limited time promo code FOOTBALL to get an extra 25 cents back per gallon on your first fill up. You can make up to $300 a year by simply doing what you have to do anyways. Next time you're driving by the pump, just envision what it could be like if you could get a little bit of this thing back. Is the juice worth the squeeze? It will be if you have Upside. Make sure that you have the most opportunities in savings when you download the free Upside app today. It felt too good to be true, right, JT? I think you could probably agree on that one. But my wife uses it on a consistent basis. So don't let this offer drive right by you. Download the free Upside app now and use our promo code FOOTBALL for a limited 25 cents back per gallon bonus. That is promo code FOOTBALL. Offers may vary by user and location. Make sure that you head on over to upside.com for terms and conditions to get the money back that you already got to spend anyways. As Lee Corson would say, not so fast, my friends, because FanDuel has something to tell you, too, before we get to some of the fun stuff and picks. NFL season is here. College football season is obviously here. And FanDuel is making sure that you're ready for both kickoffs with can't-miss offers. Specifically, whenever you're talking about right now, new customers can get $5 back in bonus bets if your first $5 bet is a winner. You'll get 300 bones back if your first $5 bet is a winner. Make sure that you make every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. It is quick, easy, and the best way to add a little bit more energy to your Saturdays and Sundays. So if you're ready to play, download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That is FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet to get that 300 bones back in bonus bets when you are a winner. All right, buddy. The Big 12 is in action this weekend. It's not just the Cowboys. It's not just Cal Poly taking on the Utes. So we'll talk about some of the slate here. I'm going to go ahead and say Cowboys just don't quite have enough to hang for the entire four quarters. My prediction has been 34-21. Before we get to the other Big 12 teams, how much does Devin Dampier and Utah country absolutely demolish Cal Poly?
Oh, what did I have it earlier? I think this Utah offense is legit. So even with the backups, I think they're going crazy. I have it 70-6.
Oh my land!
Utah beat Southern Utah 73-10 or something like that a couple years ago. I see a similar thing here. Would love to be wrong. Shout out Big Sky. I see Utah big. Do I get to say Oklahoma State now, or do I go later on that?
Yeah. Shoot, Goose.
Okay. I would love the Cowboys to win. Seriously, massive win for the Big 12. Oregon Tears. I love swimming in those as I've gotten to do in the past, but I do think Oregon being at home, Dante Moore, the talent in the trenches, and I mean just the talent NIL-wise, honestly, will be the difference. I'll take Oregon to win 34-24. I do think you guys make this interesting. This is an Oregon team under Dan Lanning. It's taking them time to round into form. I don't see that 28.5 spread. Could it happen? Sure, but I'm not predicting that.
JT, it's up to 29.5. How disrespectful. Jeez. I feel like Vegas is viewing Oklahoma State as an FCS team, a really good FCS team. I don't know. All right. So the rest of the Big 12 slate, we talked about Sawyer Robertson. Baylor put not only egg on their face, but they put egg on the Big 12's face. We needed that W. So now what we really need is for them to come out and take SMU to school. I think it is going to happen. I don't think there's any way Baylor has the same difficulty, which doing, I don't know what we're supposed to do in football, which is tackle people. So if they simply clean that up, they should be able to get a W here. I know Jennings is a bad mamma jamma at quarterback, and you have to find a way to stop him. But Baylor has to get it done. And I think that they do get it done. I think it'll be a close one, maybe a little bit of a defensive game. Give me 24-21, Baylor Burrs. What are your thoughts on this matchup, buddy?
They have to win it in a way because it's like 0-2, but it doesn't count against Big 12 play. And that's where I think they're going to be very lucky that it doesn't, because I don't have them winning this game. I saw a lot of concerning things from that defense. I think it takes time to correct that. I would love to see Baylor win this game. If it was at the Bears again, I would roll with Baylor. I think it's tough to win on the road in college football. The things they struggled with last week, tackling Jackson Arnold, Jennings is elusive. I'm concerned about how quickly they can turn that around and fix that. And I will take SMU to win 28-24. I think Sawyer Robertson is a good day, but that's a good SMU defense. A reminder, they held Penn State to 14 first half points in the Nittany Lions house last year. I was high on Baylor coming into this year. They were maybe the biggest disappointment in week one for me. Unfortunately, they're disappointing me this week again too. I'm taking SMU here.
That's how dare you do that? All right. Well, here's one that we can agree on that we don't need to give a score prediction for, because Texas Tech takes on the worst team in college football this previous season, the Kent State Golden Flashes. So Yeah, Texas Tech, they ought to do the thing.
I've been to Kent State. It was fun, but yeah, they're not. This is going to get ugly.
Whether Baron Morton's healthy or not, this shouldn't even be any semblance of a ball game. Cincinnati Bowling Green, that might be kind of interesting with the way that Cincinnati performed pretty admirably. I do expect them to win this game. Maybe it won't be super convincingly, but yeah, I think we'd agree Cincinnati gets the dub here against Bowling Green, even though BG sometimes is a problematic opponent.
Yeah, Eddie George is their coach. I like what they're building year one. And still, like Cincinnati, come on. They're going to be fired up with that last week when talent in the trench is too much. Give me Scott Satterfield. Might be the only time I'm going to say that this season. So Cincinnati here.
I'm with you. Colorado, they've got to take care of Delaware. They should be able to take care of Delaware. Please tell me you agree that they're going to represent the Big 12 and take care of the Fighting Hens.
Yeah, they will. I liked a lot of what Colorado did last week. I like Georgia Tech a lot. I don't think that was some crazy bad loss, especially first week with Daniels and everything, or Salter, in there at quarterback. I just want to get this on record sometime soon before it happens. I think Colorado's beating BYU in a few weeks at Colorado. Not a lot of people are saying that right now. I like this Buffs team. I thought they showed a lot. I like Georgia Tech more, so that's why I'm not that concerned with last week's loss.
UCF should take care of North Carolina A&T. Arizona should take care of Weber State. So give me both Big 12 squads there. I'd assume you would agree. This one might be a little interesting.
I do. Weber State.
Houston Rice. Before the season, maybe I'd have said this would be a little bit more difficult, but I actually like what I saw out of Houston and their opening game. And that Connor Weigman looked pretty good. That offensive line, should they have dominated? Yes, they should have, but they did, and they did in a very, very impressive way. We knew their defense was probably going to be pretty decent because they were last year. If this offense is as improved as it appeared in week one, Houston is not going to be an easy out for most everybody in the conference. So give me the Cougs here. You agree there, buddy?
I do. I know Rice is, like you said, I understand why some people are thinking like, okay, maybe this could be something. I think Parker Ainsworth is going to be a happy man next week because I think Houston wins big against Rice. I liked what I saw from Weigman as well, too.
There we go. Atta baby. And, even though they have the quarterback with the stupidest number in college football history, BYU should not have any problems with Stanford because Stanford just got took behind the woodshed and taught a thing or seven by a Big 12 school, right? So that should be a game that's not even close. Fair here.
I like Andrew Luck. I like Frank Wright. They're a joke right now. They're the worst P4 team. They are an absolute disaster. BYU, it's a joke that they get to call this a P4 win. BYU rolls.
So now we'll get to some of the interesting ones here. You mentioned it a little bit off air. Arizona State, Mississippi State. The Sun Devils should be more than enough to get this thing done, but this is year 2 under Jeff Levy. This is Blake Shapen's opportunity to get redemption because he got booted out of the Big 12 conference. You'd imagine he had this one circled. Yeah, it's not the same Big 12 school he left, but Sawyer Robertson beating a Big 12 school after a 2-win season has to be Blake Shapen, very high up on his priority list. It's not going to be easy, but I do think the Sun Devils get it done. Let's see, score. I think it'll be somewhat close. Give me Arizona State 31, Mississippi State 21. 10-point victory for the Sun Devils. What do you think?
I like it. I think ASU wins, but I do think this is a game. I think Mississippi State looks at this one like, hey, we might not be an SEC contender, but let's go have a chance to knock off a Big 12 contender at our place. I didn't love what I saw from ASU last week. I think they're still trying to hey, we lost our heartbeat in Scatterboo last year. We still got to figure all this out. To me, ASU wins. It's ugly. I'm going to go 23-17.
Okay. I don't know about you. I didn't get to see 3/4 of the game because ESPN Plus decided to drop the ball tremendously in that one. All right, we'll move on. We alluded to this one a little bit earlier. Kansas State, takes on the Army Black Knights. Are they better than Army? Yes. Do they have more talent than Army? Yes. But playing a triple option attack with 2 days of real practice is a problem every single year for somebody. And the way that Kansas State's kind of reeling right now, they lose the opener in Ireland. Avery Johnson has some winners and losers in the boxing ring or the streets of Ireland. That not great. Dylan Edwards leaves the program. Not great. They've got a freshman running back. They barely beat North Dakota and had to come back in the last couple minutes to win against North Dakota. They need this to stop the bleeding. but it's not going to be easy. I do think that they get it done, but I'll be honest with you. There's a little part of me that does lean towards Army can probably pull this off. This is a get right moment for Chris Kleiman and the Wildcats. I think they get it done, but I think it's going to be close. I'm thinking maybe like 2017 for the Wildcats. What say you here, sir?
Yeah, Kansas State, I know they won, but they were still like the second most disappointing team in the Big 12 to me last week. That was just, it was rough. I mean, the fact that you were struggling that much with an FCS team, I don't care that you're coming back from cross-country flight. Yeah, you take care of business in that game like an Iowa State was able to. I don't love what I'm seeing. I'd love to predict a blowout. They'll win, but I'm going to go like, I'll go 34-24. They win, but it's one of those like they pull away late, and we are just like, what is going on with everyone's? It's not like the majority of people preseason were really liking Kansas State in the national media, being the guy who was for Utah and saw how much the national media went for them last year. That doesn't always work out so well. Not loving what I'm seeing out of the Wildcats.
Yeah, definitely not a good start. And we'd have never said before the season started that this is a massive game, but for perception purposes, the things that we cannot have happen is games like Ohio and West Virginia hitting that upset. The Mountaineers are only a 3-point favorite, and Ohio has won 33 games over the last 3 seasons. This is their Super Bowl. They've already announced it's going to be standing room only, and there's going to be people outside the facilities. They're going to have watch parties, the whole 9 yards. This is a very, very, very big deal for Ohio, and they're confident that they're good enough to get this thing done. Thankfully, WV pulled away from Robert Morris in the second half, but that first half definitely is going to give Ohio some confidence. I believe in the 3-point spread. I do think it's a 3-point ball game. I think offensively, both the Ohio quarterback and West Virginia put up some points. Give me 37-38 WV.
I'll go 26-20 West Virginia. I was not super high on West Virginia coming into the year. I know there's been teams that have succeeded with the level of turnover that they've had before, but it's still just too much for me to trust in West Virginia truly this year. I think they are not one of the best teams in the Big 12. I think this is actually one of those games where you still see all those pieces try to come together. I'm with you, Cody. I think West Virginia comes out on top, but it is not pretty at all for the Mountaineers.
All right, we got 2 left. The Jalen Daniels moment is about to arrive as the border war is back into play with KU taking on Mizzou. I am very confident in Rock Chalk Jayhawk country. I know Mizzou is supposed to have a good team, right? They have a very high NIL earning roster, but I do think that this version of KU, if Jalen Daniels continues to play this way with Highshaw being the veteran presence in the backfield, the defense looks to be improved. I like former Cowboy Lyric Rawls. I like what Tommy Dunn Jr. is doing on the defensive line. Give me Rock Chalk Jayhawk country. 38-34 KU.
Cody, I know Utah made it look easy last week when they went on the road and beat a P4 team, but it is very hard for P4 teams to go on the road and beat other P4 teams. So I do think this is a very good game. I think Missouri is still going to be a solid out this year. They had the Penn State backup quarterback who transferred down there too. I do like Drinkowitz, even if I hate his playoff proposal ideas. I think Missouri makes this a game. I think it's back and forth. Jalen Daniels is the different. I said I'm pumping the brakes on Jalen Daniels till I see him against this game, but I do think he balls out, and I'm going to take Kansas to win it 37-30.
Well, I have extra confidence because I've been to a game at Mizzou and it was not intimidating, even in the slightest. Now, we also had Whedon and Blackman and Randall. So, I mean, we were kind of a cheat code team, but the environment was very unimpressive. All right. And then I think most of us would agree the creme de la creme is Iowa State versus Iowa because of the matchup, the eyeballs, all of that fun stuff. And you're right. You mentioned it. Iowa's been screaming at the moon that we have an offense now. We have a quarterback now. We can move the ball down the field now. I believe it when I see it. We know that Iowa State can because they've proven it. And that's kind of one of the biggest reasons I give Rocco Beck a little bit of extra benefit here. He lost 2 bona fide, certified NFL wide receivers. I thought that was going to be an issue. It doesn't look like it's necessarily going to be. I think Iowa State wins this very, very comfortably. Give me the Cyclones 24-14.
I think I was the most wrong on Iowa State entering the season, and I wasn't even that crazy low on them. I think I had them like 6 or 7, but I already feel like this is a team with a great opportunity to get to Arlington at the end of the year. I love that gaming in Ireland. I thought Kansas State was going to win it, and I was so impressed with the grit, the toughness, how Rocco Beck looks, that offense coming together, improving. Hansen at running back. I really like that defense they have on the other side of the ball too. I believe in Matt Campbell. I believe in this team. It's very hard to win in Kinnick Stadium. Well, it's a good thing they don't have to go there. Instead, they get them in their building, their house. I do agree. I think Iowa State wins this one. I think all this talk of Iowa's offense is going to be inaccurate, and instead we're going to see a lot more of the punter being the star than the quarterback. I am going to take the Cyclones to win this one 33-17.
Atta baby, JT. See, there's hope for Utah fans still yet to not poo-poo on the Big 12 all the time. Legitimately, man, I greatly appreciate your time. You know, I called you and I was like, was Oregon always like this? Would you like to come on the show and talk about this? Because you guys did beat them for a Pac-12 title. You beat them twice in that season, and you broke out the USS Salt Lake City jerseys, which is going to be in my thumbnail, by the way, because it's one of the coolest jerseys I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. And it worked out. I appreciate it. We're able to get some picks in here. I reckon that's all we're going to have for this one right here. As always, you know I love you. God bless. Go Pokes for my Cowboy faithful out here. And make sure that you go check out JT Locked On Utes as well. Go hit the like button. Dislike if you didn't like it. That's okay too. More importantly, share, comment, and subscribe. My podcast of people out there. Y'all are the bricks, the bread, the butter, the fountain, the fondue, the funny stuff, the funky stuff. Everything that works is because of you in podcast country. So we appreciate what you do. Go do what you do. Hit the stars. Leave some reviews. All righty, y'all. Later.